And if he does in fact run, which it sounds like he will, Brian Kemp more than likely will flip the Senate seat in Georgia. What is up, people of the internet? It is me, Real American, back again with a new video, and we have to talk about brand new polling that was just released because I am not exaggerating when I say these numbers are so bad for Democrats that they could be potentially heading for a disaster in 2026. I'm not exaggerating, by the way. These numbers are horrendous for Democrats, and I want to be clear that I am not saying that this for sure means that a red wave will happen in 2026. I'm not saying that because a lot could change. It's only 2025, where we are 2 years away from Election Day in 2026, so a lot could change, and it would be foolish to put out an official prediction as of now because we don't know who's going to run. We still don't really know what the environment is going to be like in 2026, but if these numbers hold, it is not looking good for Democrats whatsoever, because usually the party not in power in the White House, they usually do very good in the midterm. That's usually what happens. But right now, these numbers are so bad for Democrats that we could be looking at the Republican Party potentially expanding their majority in both chambers. Now, before I continue, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. These are all great ways to support the daily content, but enough of the promotional stuff. Let us continue because these numbers are horrendous for Dems. And like I said, I am not saying that this for sure means that a red wave will happen in 2026 because a lot could change. It's only, what, February of 2025? Yeah, anything could happen. But if you're the Democrat Party, how can you look at these numbers and say, oh yeah, this is real good news for us? It's not. These numbers are horrendous. Just look at this poll for Georgia, all right? Georgia's Senate seat currently is held by Democrat Jon Ossoff. And, well, the Tyson Group, which I know they are Republican affiliated, but they polled this race. And right now, they found Brian Kemp beating Jon Ossoff by 7 points. That's not a misquote. Jon Ossoff, who's been the senator since 2020, is losing by 7. And he's only at 42%. Now, they pulled Marjorie Taylor Greene and Buddy Carter, and of course, Ossoff beats both of them, especially Taylor Greene, because, for starters, yeah, compared to, like, Buddy Carter, he has name recognition. While Taylor Greene, she's just a nutcase, she would get killed. But the difference is, Brian Kemp, who is winning by 7, is a popular governor, he knows how to run a good campaign, and he's actually liked in Georgia. Now, again, a lot of people don't like him because there's a whole never Trump stuff, but he's not really a never Trumper. He's just one of those people that he gets into these stupid fights with Trump over the dumbest of things, but he's not really this never Trump rhino that's a liberal on every issue. No, if he gets in the Senate, more than likely he would be a party line vote. Whatever Trump wants passed, he would probably vote for it. So Brian Kemp, right now, who I think will win the primary. I don't care what Taylor Greene does. I think Brian Kemp easily wins the primary. And if he does in fact run, which it sounds like he will, Brian Kemp more than likely will flip the Senate seat in Georgia. And if that happens, the Democrat Party, they are screwed in the Senate. Like, you look at the map for 2026, and already it is brutal for Dems. Because even if they win every single swing state, Michigan, New Hampshire, Maine, North Carolina, Georgia, even if they win every single swing state, the Republican Party would still have a majority, 51-49. Now, it's a small majority, and you got to worry about Murkowski and John Curtis, but Republicans would still have that majority. But the problem for Dems is, right now, the polling out of Georgia, it's not looking like they're going to hold on there. And if that happens, there's no way they can take back the majority, because at that point, they need to flip a state like Ohio and then like Florida. Does anyone think that's going to happen? Of course not. That's why it's a big deal that Brian Kemp more than likely is going to run. Because if he runs, even if Democrats flip Maine, they flip North Carolina, they hold on to New Hampshire, which they might have a big problem in, and they hold on to Michigan, which, again, that's not looking good for Dems at all, they would still be 2 seats short of the majority. That's why it's a huge deal that Brian Kemp more than likely is going to run, and already against an incumbent who should have the advantage is winning by 7. Now, does this mean that Kemp wins by 7 points? No. But it does mean that Jon Ossoff, he is screwed. If he's already down by 7, and he's the incumbent, he needs to win basically every single undecided voter to barely win. That's a problem for Ossoff. He is so far behind that the Democrats, they just might be screwed here, and it doesn't matter how much money they spend. If Brian Kemp stays popular, which I think he will, more than likely, they win the Senate race in Georgia. But by some miracle, this isn't even the worst news for Democrats in 2026, because I would assume most people thought that Brian Kemp, if he did in fact run, he would be the clear favorite. I would assume Democrats thought that through, like, oh wait, Brian Kemp's very popular, and Jon Ossoff, he won because of circumstances. He's not this electoral juggernaut. He isn't. Like, yeah, if he goes against Taylor Greene, he probably wins. But even against Buddy Carter, he probably loses to him. But if it's against Brian Kemp, he's more than likely going to lose. But okay, Democrats probably were expecting that, but I don't think they were expecting Michigan. Now, this race has been completely upended after Gary Peters came out of nowhere and said, yeah, you know what? I'm not going to run for re-election. You know what? I'm going to retire. It's as if he knew, oh crap, I might be in trouble. So now Democrats, they're going to have a complete disaster in Michigan for the primary, and it looks like Pete Buttigieg is going to be their nominee. You can't make this up. Pete Buttigieg, the one person who would probably lose this seat, is losing to Mike Rogers by 6, and Democrats want to run him over anyone else. I mean, you could run anyone that has a beating heart, and they would win. Or they would come. It would be a close race, but they would have a good chance of winning. But you're going against Mike Rogers, who, you know, you may not like him, but he's a relatively speaking strong candidate, against Pete Buttigieg, who is very weak, and even in the same poll, Pete Buttigieg has higher name recognition, and his image is even better than Mike Rogers, yet he's still losing by 6. Which should tell you everything about Pete Buttigieg being a very shitty candidate. He's not, even the poll that has him liked, he is still losing by 6. He is down by 6 points against Mike Rogers. That's a problem Democrats have. It's not just Georgia. They have to worry about Michigan, and already, these numbers, they're not looking good for Dems. I mean, if you lose both Michigan and Georgia as a Democrat, how would you take the majority? The answer is you can't. At this point, Republicans, they're not just gonna, barely win Georgia and barely win Michigan. No, if they're winning both these seats, more than likely, they're holding on to North Carolina, and more than likely, Susan Collins wins in Maine. And there's a chance if Scott Brown runs in New Hampshire, we can even flip that one as well. But let's just say they don't. Either way, just because of these 2 races in Michigan and Georgia, more than likely, the Republican Party in 2026 could expand their majority. And not by 1 seat, by 2. Which, that doesn't happen that often. It happened in 2018, but that was because of the map was so bad for Democrats. They had Democrats like Indiana, Missouri, and the Dakotas. But this map is Michigan, Georgia, North Carolina, Maine. Like, yeah, 3 of those 4 states, they lean to the right, especially North Carolina. But Michigan and Georgia, they were fairly close to 2024. And Georgia is shifting to the left. But now Democrats, they may not even gain any Senate seats. No, they may actually see a net loss in the Senate in 2026. If that happens, they are not going to get the Senate majority for years. They need to do good in 2026, because if they don't, they're going to get crushed in 2028. They're not going to expand the map there. 2030, they still got to worry about Democrats like Tammy Baldwin in Wisconsin. They got to worry about people like Gallego in Arizona, the Bozo in Nevada. You begin to realize, crap, Democrats, if they do bad in 2026, they might be locked out of the Senate for like 20 years. I'm not saying it's for sure going to happen, but that's why it's a big deal that Brian Kemp is up by 7 in Georgia, Mike Rogers up by 6 in Michigan. If these people run, which it sounds like they will, we're going to more than likely expand the map. And even if Democrats hold on to, say, I don't know, Michigan, still, they would experience a net loss in this map. And if that happens, they're locked out of the Senate for many years. That's why it's a huge deal that Republicans could potentially win a place like Georgia, a place like Michigan. Hell, New Hampshire, Scott Brown really runs and the Democrat retires. You can flip New Hampshire. So you could see up to 3 Senate seats flipping Democrat to Republican. And if that happens, there are 56 Senate seats, and Republicans, they got the majority for 30 years. Or I should say 30 years, but it's going to be a while before Democrats can get out of this hole, because the maps that they got in the upcoming elections, they're not good. They still got Democrat senators in places like Arizona, Georgia, Wisconsin, Nevada, Michigan. It's like, yeah, that's not a good map for us. Those Democrats, even if 1 or 2 of them lose, we cannot afford to lose anyone else. But that's why it's a big deal that Republicans could expand the map in 2026. But fine. Maybe these Senate polls, they could be misleading. After all, we are still 2 years away from Election Day. A lot could change. Well, this is not the only metric indicating that, oh, wait a minute, we could be seeing something very bizarre happening in 2026. Approval rating. Trump's approval rating right now is still very positive. I don't care what YouGov pushes. YouGov is full of shit. The Economist is full of crap. They claim like -3, but they had like a D+20 sample. It's like, guys, you've learned nothing from 2024 or 2020. But either way, Rasmussen, which a lot of people give crap to, but they're actually a good pollster, they have Trump still at +8. And the trends are not moving. In fact, Trump's approval has stayed roughly the same. It went down a couple days, but then it started to go back up to 52, 53%. His disapproval, though, is staying flat. 45, 46% at most. Which, it's very unusual, especially for someone like Trump. Yeah, when they're elected for the first couple of weeks, they experience a kind of a honeymoon period, but this is Donald Trump. He's very divisive, and this isn't his first term. Everyone knows what Trump, they have an opinion on the guy, but right now, it's still positive. Which in 2020 and 2016, that wasn't the case. His numbers right now are the best they've ever been. And yeah, the numbers could go down a little bit, but if he still has a net positive job approval come 2026, which even other pollsters like Trafalgar are showing, I mean, Trafalgar, same deal, 45%. Big Data, it's only like 43% disapprove. So every good pollster is showing like 45% at most disapprove of Trump. And even the shitty pollsters, they only have it at like 47%. Which, for Trump, that is low. That is very low for Trump. Usually it's 51, 52, 55%. And his favorability is like roughly even. So you start doing the math, it's like, wait a minute. If Trump's job approval keeps up, which, again, a lot could change. I mean, it's only February of 2024 or 2025. But if these numbers keep up and it's still positive approval come 2026, there's a chance that, yeah, there's not going to be a blue wave in 2026. And if that happens, Democrats, they're going to lose Senate seats. Like, I don't care if they gain one in Maine or whatever. If there is a neutral environment in 2026, for starters, I still think Susan Collins wins, but even then, you probably lose Michigan, and you're screwed in Georgia if Brian Kemp and Mike Rogers run. So we just got to see what happens, but right now, the polling and the math is indicating, while it's possible Democrats retake the House, they could maybe see a net gain in the Senate, maybe. Right now, it's not indicating that whatsoever. In fact, it's indicating Republicans could expand the majority in the Senate and maybe in the House. But again, a lot could change. We just got to see what happens. But anyways, folks, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, smash the like button down below, subscribe, share with your friends, and of course, join the channel today. Godspeed to all of you.